All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to our SF Live event to talk about ISFLC, the International Students for Liberty Conference, with Jeffrey Tucker, Lucy Steigerwald of Liberty.me, and Alex McHugh and myself of Students for Liberty. My name is Casey Gibbon. I'm Students for Liberty's Director of Communications, and we're going to talk about tonight what we got in store for the 9th International Students for Liberty Conference. Just in case you haven't heard of the conference, I'll just give you a brief rundown of the details. It's going to be held this upcoming February 26th through 28th in Washington, D.C. at the fabulous Marriott Wardman Park, which is the largest conference venue in D.C. where CPAC used to be hosted. And it's the largest gathering of libertarian students in the world. And we got some very exciting speakers. Kind of the highlights that we've noted. We have Pussy Riot is going to be our main headliner on Friday night, as well as Na, the Vietnamese libertarian rapper who kind of made a splash this past summer. And we got some also some big speakers all throughout the conference. On Sunday we have Susan Herman, who is the president of the ACLU, as well as some great bread and butter libertarian standards like Jeffrey, of course, like Jack Hunter. Jeffrey and Jack Hunter will actually be debating education versus activism for a panel for young Americans for Liberty, as well as a lot of other kind of basic libertarians we all know and love, like Justin Amash, Thomas Massey, Grover Norquist, and so much more. And it's just such a fun conference, and I would encourage you all to check it out at isflc.org. But I will shut up for now because I'm going to be talking a lot later in the broadcast and turn it over to Jeffrey, who is going to be speaking at, I believe it is it two sessions? How many sessions do you have this year,
I don't
Jeffrey?
know. I mean, it might be half a dozen for all I know. but I love it for that reason. I stay constantly busy. You know, the thing that you can't replicate about ISFLC in any other conditions is the incredible energy you feel. It overwhelms you because you've got, I don't know, it seems like a mob scene of young libertarians, you know, all dedicated to human liberty and all like excited to be around each other. Maybe it's 2,000. I don't know what the numbers are, but it's an extraordinary thing. You're just surrounded by people, and it's a wonderful thing, I think, for people who believe in human liberty, because you're used to being in the minority and being misunderstood, and suddenly, you know, you're around this vast world of people who get you, and you know, want to believe, you know, they want to know what you think, and you're suddenly able to have animated conversations with all these people who are suddenly your friends. I mean, human liberty. The attachment to human liberty is a kind of a personal bond. And I think this is the key to SFL, really, is that SFL really gets this, that it's not, yes, politics is important, but ultimately loving liberty is about personal relationships. And you experience this at ISFLC like you've never experienced it before. I wouldn't miss it for the world, really. I mean, it's, for me, easily the most important event of the year for that reason. I remember my very first ISFLC. I was in Washington for some other reason. I was recording a series of lectures on business cycle theory or something, and somebody said, "Why are you going to ISFLC? It's right next door." And I said, "What is that?" You know, I had a vague, you know, this might have been 4 years ago, 3 years ago, something like that. And so I went next door, and I went up to the registration desk, and I said, "Hi, do you accept people just like off the street? Because basically that's who I am, just coming in off the street." And she said, "Well, I think so. I think it's maybe, I think it's, do you know the story?" So I said, "Well, I think it's $60. And I said, "Well, I do happen to have my checkbook with me, so I'll just write you a check." So I was writing the check, and then the whispering started from behind the desk, and somebody recognized me. And I didn't know that anybody could have ever recognized me. There's no reason for me to think that anybody should or could, or, you know, who cares. And so I wrote this check, and then it was awesome for me personally because I didn't realize that in the meantime I had become something of a YouTube or something, you know, phenom, or I don't know what. In any case, people knew who I was, and suddenly, I mean, Casey, I don't know how to describe it to you. I suddenly felt like, oh my God, this is my home. You know, these are my people. You know, and they're awesome, and you know, I'm with them, and from then on, I experienced, like, up to that point in my life, the two greatest days of my life. So from then, I've never missed it, and it's only gotten much bigger, of course, since then. And the interesting thing about ISFLC is it's an entrepreneurial challenge like none other, because this is a conference that probably has a lot of turnover because it's mostly directed towards students, right? So, and mostly undergraduates, right? So you're talking about 18 to 22 range, and people then move on to their careers or graduate school or whatever, and don't necessarily come back, at least not initially. So every year there's probably, you know, a third to a half of the students are new. And which is an amazing thing, actually, to be in the sea of people who, you know, are just like, you know, convinced that what their professors are telling them is just bogus, that the national politics is off on the wrong track. They're in that discovery stage of life, you know, and so it gives a kind of extraordinary, youthful enthusiasm to the entire event that you can't replicate in any other context. And it's beautiful. I mean, why? I mean, because it makes you realize that there is hope, and libertarians are weirdly, you know, not often consumed with hope, especially in today's world, right? But ISFLC gives you that. It gives you a vision of the future. You learn a ton from the lectures, and you make lifetime friendships. So that's what I think is so awesome about it. I think this year I'm going to be talking about peer-to-peer technology and some strategies for education and that sort of thing. And yes, I have this big debate with my friend Jack Hunter, who's like all involved in politics. I'm going to be curious. Like, I'm not even preparing for the debate. It's like, oh, right? I mean, he's going to argue for, like, why we should all be involved in politics, and I'm going to be like, well, you know, if it's a consumption good for you, that's fine. But, you know, let's just say that doesn't seem to be going so well. You know, so, and I love him very dearly, as I love so many of these people. The people you meet at ISFLC are the most dedicated people for human liberty, basically, on the planet. You know, I mean, that they're the people who know the subject as well as anybody, and have vast experience in how to make it real in your life. So it's your chance to become part of an awesome and emerging world, essentially. So my congratulations to SFL and all the great entrepreneurs that are behind this conference, because it's an amazing event.
Oh, well, thank you very much. Yeah, we are very much looking forward to having you speak, Jeffrey. In fact, it's funny, you mentioned your story of your first time at ISFLC coming in. I was actually in SFL student leadership at that time, and I don't remember exactly who it was. I think it may have been James Padillione or someone, but I remember someone coming up to me excitingly and saying, "Oh, Jeffrey Tucker just walked in," and like gave me a check. So I certainly remember that clearly. So that's a great SFL memory.
Well, I didn't know, you know, honestly, Casey, I didn't know that anybody in the whole world even any clue. I don't, you know, what I had written or any of the, you know, I was just like clueless about anything really. I just stumbled in. I didn't. And next thing you know, it was like selfie, 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 and you know. And I didn't know that. You know, it's like I was a hermit or something. As I look back on it, I think I was a little bit. I had underestimated the power of social media, essentially. Mm-hmm. And even though I believe very strong in the internet and that sort of thing, that I've always convinced that it's been the key. It's going to be the thing that saves the world. Even I had underestimated what it meant for me personally. And to suddenly, you know, feel that sort of, I don't know how to describe it, but like embrace or approval from 2,000 people, was great. It was like a strange sort of affirmation that, okay, we've got a community. There's a world out here. It's real. This is not just some abstract ideal. This is the real deal. The idea of human liberty is burrowing into hearts and minds and changing lives every single day. And there's momentum. And I don't think I entirely understood that until that event.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that's very powerful. And in fact, there's something almost indescribable about the conference, and it's hard because at least me and my personal everyday job, as a communications director, like I try to write emails or social media posts about this, but it's like it almost can't be put into words. Like I'll give one example of last year. Just me, myself, and Alex and a few other LGBT libertarians who are on staff. We started this Friday night LGBT social where just kind of, there's not much going on Friday night in terms of all the partner organizations save their socials for Saturday night. So we just kind of thought, oh, this would be fun to throw up a Facebook event, have a night on the town to this bar that does 18+ dancing. And so many kids came up to me and said, this is my first time at a gay bar. This is my first time realizing that there are other libertarians, that not all, gay guys or gay women are all LGBT, are all liberals. Like, this is a really empowering experience. And I think that really kind of, and this was just last year. I've been to ISFLC since 2011, was just really a powerful experience of what the conference, just all the different potential that the conference has to bring people together in ways you wouldn't even imagine.
It always takes, and I feel bad for you actually being in charge of social media, because it is indescribable. And one of the reasons it's indescribable is that it's a little bit unpredictable. You
Alex can tell you that.
You go into it and you're like, okay, Deirdre McCloskey is speaking, okay, there's David Bowes and whatever. I mean, the headline speakers, and there's going to be a lot of people, but throwing around numbers like 2,000 people, that doesn't mean anything in the abstract. Mm-hmm. And, you see it and it's like, who cares? Oh, so what, it's big. I guess I'm going to get lost like I usually am. But it's not till you get there you realize that the potential for the formation of real, genuine relationships is so unpredictably awesome. It's right there, and it's not difficult to meet people either. I mean, you go even alone for the first time, and you find yourself, part of a community, and the amazing things happen to you, like personally and intellectually. Your life changes essentially, and I see why that would be difficult to describe on social media. So I feel for you. I was thinking about this today actually. It's like, if I were in charge of SFL social media, how would I describe ISFLC? And it's something like, it's a little bit like describing Burning Man or something.
Yeah.
Like,
exactly. Yeah.
This is weird. It's kind of awesome. But it's probably going to change your life, and I can't quite give you the details because I don't know,
Yeah, I mean, we don't know necessarily what the best things that are going to happen are. I know from my experience, some of the best times that I had at ISFLC were impromptu lunch meetings with students from across the country who I had no idea I was going to meet. Yeah. And so we do try to highlight people's experiences from previous years, because we know that's the only way to really get that message across. But yeah, even with that, it's hard to capture the magic of it.
Yeah, we certainly do. Like, we just had on our, recently on ISFLC.org, we posted a guest blog post by one of our students, Sam Dunkovich, who kind of explained, he's a student from Wisconsin, explained how just attending this conference inspired him to join the Liberty movement full time. And now he's, I'm working with him. He has a goal of being a professional journalist for Liberty. And it's just, that's just kind of a career example professionally, but I mean, just socially, it's so hard to describe, as Jeffrey and Alex have put it. I often find myself in emails writing, the experience is indescribable, but I feel like that's such a cop-out because it's so vague.
I know exactly. I understand exactly what you mean. It is indescribable. It's indescribably great. I mean, there's many aspects of it. I mean, even the fashions of are just like wonderful in themselves because everybody kind of gets dressed up, right? And you show off the coolest thing. And so last year, well, like my big mission at ISFLC last year was to bring back fur, and I was really promoting fur very hard. And Lucy laughs, right? Yeah, right. But no, it's serious. This is a serious matter. And so I was pushing fur very hard, and I was alone in this, right? So I'll see if I'm successful this year because we'll see how many people are wearing fur. But everybody's got some cool thing to show off, and everybody truly, this sounds like a trivial point, but everybody looks fabulous, right?
I feel like every year there's some certain trend. I remember it was like either 2012 or 2013. A lot of people were wearing fedoras and like top hats. I remember that clearly. But I feel like around there we go.
I remember that hat. I've seen that before in real life.
Yeah, it's made of hair. Hair. H-A-R-E. Yeah, right. I think I was right.
But yeah. I mean, those are always popular. I think they went a little bit out of style in the past few years. But I'm trying to think of a few. I've seen recently like a lot of like chain watches. I'm trying to think. Of course, like
we're a dapper lot, aren't we? My goodness.
Every year there's something new. There's always a few kids who try to bring back the ascot because they think the bow tie is not fancy enough.
I know. I see this, and I just I'm like, this is a hopeless cause. What? Every year, you're right. Every year there's somebody trying to bring back the ascot.
And they're very defiant about it. I remember having at least twice, I've been like to somebody, "Oh, you're bringing back the ascot," and very seriously, he was like, "Yes, I am bringing back the ascot." It's not like it seems like people with bow ties have a sense of humor about it. Like, yeah, I love bow ties.
At least our bow tie people do. Our bow tie people have humor. The CPAC bow tie people do not.
Wait, Lucy, are there really CPAC bow tie people? Is this
there are. My association tends to be the true. I don't want to ruin bow ties for you actually by describing this. The Rick Santorum fan type. There's some deadly serious bow tie people in the world, but I hope you can avoid them.
If I can interject, just do a brief promotional plug since you mentioned CPAC. So the great thing about ISFLC this year, usually ISFLC, if you tracked any of our numerous Valentine's memes in the past, was on Valentine's Day. But this year it is on the 26th through 28th, and CPAC is on, I believe, the 31st to the 2nd or 3rd. So both conferences are within a week of each other. So if anyone like from out of DC, not a Beltway bandit like myself and Alex, are looking to come in for, you can get 2 conferences in 1 week. So that's the great thing this year about scheduling.
Have you been to? I gotta admit to you, I have a vague memory, like you remember childhood abuse, of attending a CPAC one time, but I've not been. But I mean,
I went to one. It was awful.
Lucy, why don't you tell us more about the difference between CPAC and ISFLC?
Oh, that's well, my time at CPAC was fun because I got to do a Reason TV video with 2 lovely fellows from Reason TV. So I had a great time, but the vibe was so very different. I mean, Jeff was making me feel all warm and fuzzy just by talking earlier because even though it has gotten bigger over the years, which is obviously good, there is still the sense of like, these are my people. And I still have like social awkwardness in my life, but there's still, FLC is just...
That's ridiculous, Lucy. You should never say social awkwardness.
But I'm trying to be honest with you fine people, Jeffrey, that's all.
All right. It's ridiculous. You're awesome. You're awesome.
Well, thank you. And so is Students for Liberty. I don't know, CPAC, I mean, I don't know, it's the place for conservatives. And the heartening thing about CPAC is when you see the pockets of like SFL people, or I'm trying to think who else I've spotted. Sneaking libertarians around, but it's just, I don't know, it's a bad vibe, and, you know, Sarah Palin and bad people talk.
Yeah, read the Sarah Palin introduction to Trump. That's CPAC, right? I mean, so it's God and gold and country and nationalism and.
The strange thing is when there's any libertarian presence at CPAC at all, but it feels like, you know, the tiny pocket of rebellion. You know, we're in the territory that's not ours, and.
Well, this is what's awesome about SFL. I mean, SFL saved libertarianism. I mean, let's just be blunt about it, right? So, I mean, libertarians have been working their asses off since like the 1920s, okay, to like make liberty like the central thing. But it keeps getting diverted. You know, it's like, oh, Reagan, you know, killed the Soviets. And then the Ron Paul campaigns, and God bless Ron Paul, I love him personally, but the movement, you know, just became like weird. And you know, it keeps happening. You know, it's like weird stuff is happening all the time in the name of human liberty. SFL carved out a principled position and said, look, this is what we believe: religious freedom, civil liberties, economic freedom, peace. Okay, and we're not going to waver on that. These are true principles that are eternally valid.
I think they're the first real good big tent liberty organization, honestly.
I'm totally with you. I mean, if it weren't for SFL, I don't know what the world would look like, actually. I mean, and it worries me. I mean, SFL it's a simple principle. It's like human liberty. You know, that's not too complicated. Human rights, okay? But what that means in practice is actually quite astonishing and really radical. And SFL, despite, you know, political trends, media trends, academic trends, has always been like awesomely in favor of human liberty.
Well, you know, I'm very glad you say that, because at least that's something, at least in my job, and I think Alex would probably share the sentiment, that I pride myself on with SFL is that we're truly striving. It's very conscious to be Big Tent, a Big Tent liberty organization. And I think it's funny, like literally every single speaker we announce, we either get, you know, like we're called by, you know, kind of right libertarians, oh, you guys are lefty socialists. Like we'll announce Pussy Riot, we'll announce Susan Herman, president of the ACLU. But then we'll announce Grover Norquist, and then we'll announce Justin Amash and Thomas Massey. And then the left libertarians will say, "Oh, you're Republican sellouts." And I just think, well, you know, this is great if we're being called both, you know, socialist left libertarian conservatives or whatever, and we're being called, you know, Republican apologists, you know, Tea Partier rednecks. Then I think we're doing something right.
No, it's true, and really, you have to appreciate too. You know, Russell Kirk, when he wrote his famous article on libertarianism in I think the 1970s, said we're hopeless because we'll always be a sectarian. You know, we'll always be.
Yeah.
And SFL somehow figured out how to just reduce the principle to a simple one and say we're broad. A broad organization based on a simple, clean principle.
Broad but not milquetoast, I think. No. I mean, I know it's all sort of vague, subjective. Yeah. Like I know it when I see it, you know, when someone or some organization has sold out. But generally speaking, to me, SFL has managed to strike the balance really well between inclusive and not just sort of watered down and principleless. Like not far, you know, the opposite of that.
All the time, because I speak around the country all the time. I mean, you know, for whatever reason, end up speaking all the time, but I'm never happier than when I stand in front of an audience at an SFL regional conference. I always feel like I can just be myself and say what's true, and I'm not going to be shouted down or booed. People are open-minded. but also principled and radical. And I feel like I can just be myself at an SFL event. So imagine like taking that regional sort of sense of I'm finally at home and making it international and adding thousands of people. You know, this is why we go to ISFLC.
Mm-hmm. Well, you know, you hit upon the international aspect, which I think is something we haven't touched upon recently, but that's something I think I also pride myself with SFL is we truly are an international organization. And, you know, there are so many wonderful groups in the liberty movement in the United States. I mean, just so many great ones. But I think SFL and just a few others, like Atlas, I think is another one, the Atlas Network. But not very many are truly an international organization. And so that's another great thing about ISFLC is not only will you meet kids and students and alumni from different states within the United States, but you'll also meet people from Brazil who are literally trying to impeach their terrible, you know, really corrupt president. You'll also meet activists from Africa. You'll also, Nigeria, we have a very strong presence in Nigeria. You'll also meet lots of Europeans from all over, you know, all over the continent who will debate with you the pros and cons of the European Union. So it's truly like just an international experience that is well, I feel like this is the phrase of the night, but hard to describe.
Well, and if I can jump in real quick, I know one thing I learned from all the European attendees was a lot of that fashion that Jeffrey was talking about. They tend to step things up a little more than us Americans do.
Do you remember there was one ISFLC, if it was 2012 or 2013, where the MC Gillis from Europe actually serenaded the crowd for his closing remarks. I remember that. But yeah.
The fashion. We don't want to intimidate people, but you can pull out your best stuff. I remember last year I was sitting in my hotel room and I was in like, you know, looking like Don Draper in my, you know, boxers and T-shirt in my hotel room. And no, this is a true story. So I needed this actually happened. So I needed, but I had a bottle of gin, and I thought, well, you know, it'd be nice to have it with ice, but I have no ice. So, but that means I have to go down the hallway to, you know, pick up some ice. But I thought, sure as I step out that hotel room, God knows what's going to happen. So I thought, I have to do this. So I got redressed. So I got my suit on, and I put on the bow tie, and I put on the hike, and I stepped outside to get some ice because I was just walking down the hall, and sure enough, like I don't know what, I had a premonition. There were 5 students, and they're like, "Oh my God, it's Jeffrey!" And so, you know, selfie, and I was so glad that I did it, you know, because otherwise I would have been caught. There would be pictures of the internet all over. And so, you know, with the fashion, yeah, fashion is a good thing. But look, I don't think fashion is superficial. I think what it shows is respect for the venue and respect for the cause we represent. And in many ways, this is why ISFLC is the best dressed conference, because people love what they're there for, and they want to show this and how they dress and how they behave. And in that sense, I think it's awesome. You know, it's a beautiful conference to look at. You know, it doesn't mean that everybody's dressed up. It's not true, but everybody's like got their A game on. You know, because you quickly learn that these are the best people in the world. You know, that these are like a caliber above everybody you've met in your dorm rooms in your university. That these are your people, and if you ever want to be awesome, this is the time to be awesome. You know, like right now in Washington, D.C. at the ISFLC. That something about you realize that the people who you're present there with are the most valuable people in the world. You know, because they've got the best insight into what's true, and they're going to make a network for you. and help you become part of something that's awesome and that's going to last throughout your life. And I don't know. I don't know, Casey, if you ever blog about this, but I'm sure the relationships formed at ISFLC have sustained themselves through the years. I have no doubt about it.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you know, we've kind of touched upon quite a bit the personal aspect, but also, you know, I want to emphasize the professional aspect too. At least Alex and I mean, this is how we, the both of us, first got involved in the Liberty movement professionally. You know, from ISFLC, I myself was able to score an internship in DC and eventually get my position at SFL. And also with Alex, that's how he was introduced to the Liberty Network as well, and became a Students for Liberty campus coordinator. It's just an incredibly great professionally, and I think especially for anyone who's interested in becoming a full-time libertarian, which almost sounds kind of funny, but I think is actually something that I've started to come to acceptance with is going to be my life. It's a remarkable opportunity to truly find professional opportunities for a cause that you're passionate about personally. Yeah, Alex, did you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, I guess I'll just add that, I mean, one of the things that I was struck by the people that I met at various ISFLCs was, in addition to the liberty activism they were doing through SFL and our affiliates directly, everybody had side projects, you know? Everybody had their own thing they were working on, whether it was starting a, you know, mutual voluntarist healthcare system, whether it was, you know, putting together a new blog, all sorts of things. And so that was, I mean, you know, not only encouraging to see all of that happening and to meet all these people and to now have them in my network, but it was also very inspiring, right, to see that I didn't have to wait for a full-time, you know, career or, you know, go to grad school or do any of these things. You just have to start things. And so I think that really speaks to the sort of people that you meet.
Yeah, that's right. And part of being a lover of liberty involves feeling alienated, I think, to some extent. Especially, this year. Right? Am I right about this?
Yes.
Especially this year, where I mean, God knows, insane things are happening politically. But that's not a good feeling. It's not a good feeling to feel isolated and alienated or lost. Like, oh, what the hell am I going to do with my life? Everybody around me has got different values from me. You know, either Sanders or Trump supporters, right? And one of the cool things about going to ISFLC is it boosts your personal confidence. It's like, actually, there's a weird and interesting revolutionary movement out there that's like really active and really changing the world through entrepreneurship or academics or, you know, whatever the thing is. So it gives you a chance to talk to other people and go, what are you doing in your life? You know, what cool things are happening? And they tell you, and you're like, maybe I could do that too. You know, hey, maybe you want to get together, you know.
Or just gives you a chance to go, yeah, oh my God, I know, me too. Like, that's all. I mean, you know.
That's all. And we
or
need
have just totally minute discussions where, like, minarchy is like the presumption, and then you like go, you know, maybe you're debating something like, how are we privatizing this? Just like, you know, the internet groups can have some of this too, in my experience.
A little bit, but there's nothing that replaces the physical experience. Do you agree? Is everybody with that like you have to actually meet flesh and blood people?
And then I've had the experience where I meet someone and we're like, wait, are we Facebook? We are Facebook friends. Awesome. and then, you know, lots of things follow.
So that's also cool too, is that you get to see how the digital becomes the physical. You know.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so you've already got a prehistory with these people. That really helps too. But I really just genuinely believe there's no substitute for meeting people in the flesh. I mean, as much as my whole life is dedicated to digital media. I mean, I believe in it, you know. But in the end, you really need to be a real person. And meet real people, and that's what changes everything. It's amazing. The other thing I just want to point out, you know, I often talk about this with entrepreneurship. It's like Entrepreneurs change the world. They make the world a different kind of place. There would be no collapse of the taxi cab monopoly in New York for Uber and so on. But SFL is in a similar situation. It was an act of entrepreneurship. I mean, people who believed in human liberty saw there was a crisis that there needed to be an answer for. They saw a demand out there of genuine libertarians who desperately needed a social and intellectual gathering points. And they threw it together, and it's amazing. I mean, SFL is what, 6 years old or something? 7 years old? And it's just ballooned. And there's a reason for that, because the energy is there, and it's meeting a consumer need. So SFL has in many ways changed the world. As I said, I think SFL saved libertarianism in some ways. The organization saw a need, put it together, and it's made the world a different kind of place. So, if anybody's watching this that's still in doubt about whether to come, and I hesitate to say this, but you should go into debt. I mean, you should just do whatever it takes.
I'll take that to heart because I haven't booked my hotel or my bus yet.
Yeah,
so debt it is.
Well, that's a great. I'm glad you brought up the hotels. We can make a brief promotion.
Yeah, that's a great plug. I feel like I can do a nice 1950s plug right now.
Do it.
You don't have to go into debt to attend ISFLC. So we actually have a number of different discounts and programs and scholarships to attend. First of all, we have for our hotel registration rate, we've negotiated a special discount with the Marriott Wardman Park, which is $144 per night plus tax, which if you split that with several different people is even lesser than the initial price tag, and that is available till February 1st, so only about 10 days away. So if you haven't booked your hotel yet, do that.
And you go to SFL's website and click through on the link. Is that the way it works?
Yes. Well, the best website to go to would be isflc.org. That's the best website. But we do occasionally post links on sfl.org as well.
Okay.
But also, we have, for current students only, we have a special $100 scholarship that we're giving to any current student who wants to attend ISFLC. Just fill in a quick application, and we'll give you $100 for anything related, any expense related to ISFLC, whether that be registration, hotel, whatnot, you name it, bus tickets, airline tickets, we'll give you $100. So that's something we're trying to do this year to make it cheaper. And also, if you haven't registered yet, we do have discount days. Unfortunately, we just had our last discount day, or we had our discount day yesterday. But I will give a special Liberty.me exclusive preview that our next discount day is going to be on Ayn Rand's birthday, of course, going with the libertarian theme, on February 2nd. And I think it's probably going to be our biggest discount ever. I'm planning on it being $25. So that will be for North American students. That will be, I believe it's going to be after the discount, that will be $40 or so, or $35, or for non-students, it will be $35, and for students it'll be $25. So we're trying to give as big a discount as we can to really drive attendance. So stay tuned, and there are many ways to come to ISFLC, especially with a $100 discount on a student's budget. Because that's ultimately what we want to do. We really don't make much money from students. We just really want to facilitate a conversation, a Liberty bash. The ISFLC is truly the biggest young libertarian student conference in the country and the world, and we're trying to keep that up.
And it's important, right now, because I'm not even sure if last year people were entirely aware of this, but we've got a generation of students who are being told they have to choose between socialism and fascism.
Yes. Bernie and Trump.
I mean, that's it, right? Those are the two guys. It's like, if you're a white male, member of the bourgeoisie, you've got to love Trump and he should be president. And then, if you're slightly alienated from that world, then you should favor free stuff for everyone through socialism, Bernie Sanders. And it's horrible because it's neither was scientific. I mean, one is emotional. Well, both are based entirely on emotions, but neither are the true path towards prosperity and peace, So SFL represents like a third option. It's like, let's not use violence, whether it's the right or the left. Let's just pursue a path of social peace and human rights. How about that, So it's not an unreasonable view, but somebody has to say it, and SFL is saying it right now, And to my own mind, it's never been more necessary than it is right now. Without SFL's voice, we're going to collapse. We're going to repeat the errors of the past, and we don't want to go there. Really, we don't want. We don't want to plunge back into the interwar years. I mean, please, let's just. This is a digital age. We're through with the 20th century. What's going to take us to the 21st century? How are we going to progress? And it's got to come through the ideals that the SFL represents.
You're so flattering, Jeffrey. I mean, obviously, I'm very fond of SFL because I work there. Even I'm like, oh, okay.
Are we all moved right now, just by all the words? I'm not actually with this organization, but I'm just gonna cry.
But it's true, right? I mean, look.
Yeah, no, it is.
We can't neglect just the urgency of what we're dealing with here. I mean, somebody has to save civilization.
But it's always. The nice thing about civilization is it's always on the brink, and it always needs saving, and the world is always on fire. And actually, the people who think the world is now more on fire than ever, that's often the people that get pushed towards sort of Trump sort of panic.
They do. So
I'm not really arguing with you the actual point of it, but we're always in peril.
I believe there's hope, and the hope is always with human rights. And human liberties, and that's the light. Everything else is the dark. I mean, I'm not complicated. That's the whole story essentially. But you go to the conferences that the right wing is holding, and you're going to get nation and race and religion and so that sort of belligerence, that we heard from Palin's speech. You go to the left, and it's going to be about redistribution and taxes and more bureaucracy and more government. And I'm like, why do we believe this anymore? We've been there, we've done that, and we saw what it gave us. And yet, the technology that surrounds us, the globalism, the app economy. I mean, think about the way you live your life day to day. It's through your own choices. So why don't we use what works and expand that to the whole world? And then we can see awesome things happen. It's not a complicated point, really. But for some reason, it's the minority position, right? But it doesn't have to be the minority position. If we gather together and crowdsource our information, and realize we're not alone, with what I think is the common sense, rational, perspectives, then we can make a difference. And history can change. It does not have to go down and down and down. It can go up and up and up. But it requires that we do shit, basically, right? I mean, that's the important thing. We have to actually act, and not a single way. There's many ways of loving liberty and acting and bringing about liberty in the world, and nobody can dictate what exactly that looks like. But at ISFLC, you get the ideas, you meet the friends, you develop the relationships that can make the world a better place. So it's an act of piety, as far as I'm concerned, to attend and to learn and to meet and greet and you'll do your part. You do your part for yourself and for your community and for future generations to preserve this world from the statism of the left and right. And increasingly, Hayek said in his Road to Serfdom, he said, there's not much difference between the left and the right, actually. They're just like names for the same party. And I get that now. I mean, I'm more and more seeing that he was right about that. They're the same people, And we just have to throw away both and embrace with the truth instead, as far as I'm concerned.
Mm.
Yeah. If I can, I'd love to bring Lucy more into this conversation. So, Lucy, you've attended every ISFLC since 2011.
Actually, I missed 2013, which I do regret. It didn't feel right. It did not feel right to miss it.
But,
sorry about that.
Yeah, could you tell me about what are some of your favorite moments at ISFLC and what you love about it?
Some are inappropriate for broadcast. No, I'm so but my first one, there's so many things. My college was tiny, and I kind of preemptively gave up on the prospect of finding anyone libertarian, because it was sort of, everyone was politely liberal, but they didn't even want to debate it. It was just sort of everywhere. And I've been a libertarian since I was 13 for various reasons. And I suddenly found that the 2011 conference was going on. And I was like, oh my God, look who's going to this. All these people I like are in one place. What the hell? Why didn't someone tell me about this? I was outraged at I don't know who. My first one, I got to hang out with Anthony Gregory, who I discovered, who had speechified. I was at the Independent Institute student thing the year before. I got to hang out with him. I was cool enough to hang out with him. I'm trying to think what else. Well, I helped boo John Bolton on the Stossel show, I freely admit, in 2012, because that guy's awful. I'm trying to think. There's so many. I don't know. The first one, I got to confirm, that was kind of my first step into really getting that all these people were real. I got to confirm that Nick Gillespie was real, having, been browsing Reason magazine since I was 13. It was smaller then. They fed you then, but there's better food you can get yourself this time, so it's probably a win.
McDonald's, you mean?
and et cetera. Yes.
There's always a trek to McDonald's every morning for breakfast. Yeah.
Yes, there's a McDonald's only 3 blocks away, and Adam's working, so there you go.
Last time who did we have? We had Snowden, though not, physically. We had people like Justin Mosh. We had Judge Napolitano telling us all how we were going to die in a town square or government jail. If you want to get intense about things, the judge is the man for you. Crying when Yeonmi Park talked about being raised in North Korea, really serious stuff as well. It's just, and having crazy adventures at weird hours with people that, people that I tend to see the most at these meetings these days are people that I did initially know through Facebook, and then there was a tentative, oh, it's you, yeah, okay. And sometimes, that's just sort of a polite greeting in passing, and sometimes you really do get to become friends with people that were just a name on Facebook, and then there they are, this mighty gathering of all your people. And I always think that this is slightly tangential, but when people like my cranky New York liberal uncle or my liberal friends see sort of the madcap libertarian Facebook thread on my Facebook, and they're they're smug and they have these in-jokes and they seem sort of insufferable from an outsider, and I don't think they get the alienation that we have, and how rare it is for people like us to have these moments where 2,000 people, there's some diversity there. There's the rogue conservatives, and there's the left and right-ish anarchists, but we don't get to be around our people very much, and they shouldn't blame us for being delighted in this, either digitally or real life.
One thing I hear in your comments that I did sort of penetrates in some way. One, I've learned over time that I think libertarians get used to, because we're so isolated and we're so alienated, to use your term, even since high school, right? That we begin to believe that the whole of everything we understand about the world has to be made up in our own heads. And that's wrong, really. It's not true. But in order to outsource and crowdsource your knowledge and your understanding, you need to know people. You need to experience them, you know? And so ISFLC is awesome because you realize there's so many people working on so many different areas. Money and banking, international trade, immigration issues, LGBT issues, whatever it may be, that you realize that you experience a little bit of a sort of decompression experience. You know, it's like, oh, I don't have to solve every issue. Mm-hmm. There are plenty of people who love liberty, who have my same values, who are working on these things. So I can specialize, which is a relief. You know, you can integrate your knowledge with other people and integrate their knowledge into yours.
And you can be intimidated and amazed that people sometimes who are still in college are so driven and motivated, which is generally my experience with SFL. Like, I love everybody, and I love the group, but I really do feel like, wow, I was not this on the ball in college. I had no idea that this was even possible. And I feel a little regretful that I didn't, you know, do something really go-gettery, but I'm very glad, you know, that various 22-year-olds are. So that's
I know this feeling very well, actually. Yeah.
Well, yeah. So it's about 10:22. So I don't mean to keep you, Lucy and Jeffrey, past our given time that we set up.
Can I tell the people about my table, though? Because I haven't actually said that.
Yes, please, go ahead.
Before we leave. I did this last year, and I'm doing it again. Ladies of Liberty Alliance very generously do share their table spot with antiwar.com. So I will be hanging out there for much of the weekend, and I will try to bribe people with chocolate of some kind, and I'll give you a free sticker if you come visit. And antiwar.com's good, and you should come to my table, and so is Lola. They're both good. So, yeah, come see me.
By the way, Lucy, isn't there something that you and I have left on the table, like some issue you wanted to denounce me on?
There's lots of things that I
we asked that the denouncing maybe happen on a different show.
Possibly.
We can talk about this in private. I don't remember what it was, but there was something you were very upset with me about. Something I don't remember what it was.
Moderately disagreeing, which is different.
Okay.
Or
we'll talk about Casey, you were saying.
Maybe we can make it an ISFLC panel. Who knows?
I'll be there.
No, but yeah, okay. So I guess the grand finale of this programming is I promised on Twitter and all the social medias that I would have 3 big announcements for ISFLC that I would make first exclusively on Liberty.me. So, drum roll, please. I'm going to make the announcement. So, first of all, the first announcement is a speaker. This is someone we're going to announce tomorrow. I'm sure many of you have probably in the past week saw on your newsfeed that there is an appeal going on in the Ross Ulbright case. Ross Ulbright was actually, of course, he was the founder of the Silk Road, who was sentenced to life in prison for starting kind of a voluntary marketplace online. And he actually attended the first Students for Liberty conference. Fun fact.
I didn't know that.
Not a whole lot of people know, but that's an SFL history. We actually have a signed shirt by Ross Ulbright in our office.
Wow.
That, unbelievably. But his mother, Lynn Ulbright, reached out to us and generously offered to speak at ISFLC. So I'm very excited to announce that Lynn Ulbright is going to be speaking at ISFLC, giving a breakout talk, not just about Ross's case in specific, even though that is very timely since they just filed an appeal, so she'll certainly talk about that briefly and answer questions, but also just in general about the criminal justice system and kind of how it deals with these spaces like the informal market and really kind of how it makes markets more dangerous. I mean, especially, at least this is my personal commentary, but, you know, the Silk Road, I feel made, transactions much more safer than buying things from a local drug dealer off the street or whatnot. So I think that it will be a very interesting talk. So that's announcement number 1.
Well, let me just say that
Lynn
is an awesome person and a great hero of our times, and I think it's brilliant that you've invited her, that she's going to speak there, and that you're going to present her to everybody. So thank you for doing that, and I'm glad that Lynn has understood the value of ISFLC as a venue. So this is a hugely important case, and she's a mother that, she's just an awesome mom. She's just a great, brilliant, wonderful, passionate woman and advocate for her son. So thank you for doing that. That's just really exciting.
Yeah, and especially in my personal interactions with her, what I've been just blown away by is her humility. She is just such a humble and nice woman. I mean, it's really just so inspiring to see someone going through such difficulty, but being such a persistent and strong advocate for freedom, for individual rights, for the right to appeal, for the right to a fair trial. It's truly humbling. So we're very excited to announce her.
That's wonderful.
Yeah. So that's announcement number 1. Announcement number 2, on a slightly lighter note. We have, of course, we all are big fans of Reason.com and Reason TV. They make really great content, both on their magazine side, their foundation side, their think tank, and also their TV side. They have Reason.tv, which is their kind of viral video side. And we're very excited to announce, this is an idea we've been kicking around for several years now, that we are going to have the first ever ISFLC Film Festival. So we're going to have a film festival sponsored by Reason TV. So this will be very cool. It will consist mostly, from my understanding, a lot of the details are still up in the air. So maybe it's even premature for me to announce, but I'm doing it anyway. But it's going to be mostly Reason videos, but they're also, I believe, going to be soliciting other videos from other organizations. But it's going to be a whole 4-hour program, not at once, not in one time block, thankfully, but throughout Saturday, the day program, showing Reason videos and kind of the most viral and important, kind of the best of the best in the Liberty movement in terms of viral video content. And that'll be great as well. Of course, we'll see a lot of Reason regulars, hopefully Nick Gillespie and Matt Welch. And yeah, it will be hosted as well in our Amagi Art House, our art space, which is on the exhibitor floor and has been a staple of ISFLC since 2012. So this will kind of be a cool collaborative space where not only will, besides Reason, we will also have a lot of art house submitted by our students, by libertarian students at ISFLC. So it will be a whole kind of room decorated with all this Liberty art, but also showing for 4 hours on Saturday different Reason and videos, as well as other viral video content from the Liberty movement. So that's something to look forward to, the Reason Film Festival at ISFLC. Yeah, and the third and final announcement that I have, I'm just rolling through them right now, is something that has direct effect for Liberty.me. This is another idea that we've been kicking around for several years, because we noticed last year we had some empty space in our exhibitor hall. But Liberty.me is going to be a sponsor of ISFLC for our first ever broadcast room. So there will be a whole space dedicated in the exhibit hall for Liberty.me content creators to conduct interviews, hang out, whatnot, and anyone else in the Liberty movement who has some sort of radio show, podcast, video, web series, etc., to not only get into ISFLC for free with a media pass, for free, but also have a dedicated space, a table to conduct interviews, etc., collaborate with other Liberty lovers. So this is something that we're launching for the first time ever this year, and I especially encourage any of you, especially since it will be sponsored by Liberty.me, any of you on Liberty.me who have a show, whether that be a podcast, a web series, etc., to apply for a press pass on ISFLC.org, and I will quickly get that approved for free and even dedicate a specific space for you to create content. Of course, that being with the implied assumption that you actually do create content. So do conduct interviews and whatnot. I'm certainly, I think, hopefully, Lucy and Jeffrey will be there, and we're already in talks with some other libertarian content creators. So that should be pretty exciting, and that's all available on ISFLC.org.
This is thrilling. Well, I'm so excited about this conference this year. I mean, I've been so desperate for it. You know, this is what happens to you. You go to ISFLC, and it's like the greatest time of your life, and you can't wait till the next year. So
yeah,
I've been looking forward to this since last year. Such an awesome experience.
So, can I ask you both one final question before we sign off?
Yeah.
What are you most looking forward to? We talked a lot about how there's a lot of variety at the ISFLC. It's different every year. Is there something in particular that you're really looking forward to in this year's program?
Lucy, you want to go ahead?
Well, I'm not sure yet. I think having a drink with you, Jeffrey, will be on my agenda. I'll be seeing all of you there, which is a good start. I'll probably be seeing my rowdy left libertarian friends who never know how to dress properly for the occasion.
I know, they're so
I love them so. Some of them just won't do it. They won't do it.
Well, the left libertarian contingent at ISFLC is funny because they're always ready to be in this sort of protest mode, you know.
But like politely, they're happy to be there, and I'm always happy to see them.
That's the thing. They're not quite they're not as alienated as they want to be. You know?
I think that's true. I think that's actually true.
It's always a friendly occasion. I guess I'm looking most forward to. It sounds like a cliche, but you know, in today's world, we meet so many people that become our friends, and yet sometimes we neglect them. And at ISFLC, it's a chance to see people that we know and we love who are benefactors intellectually and otherwise, and embrace them and say thank you for all you've done for human liberty over the last year. And I love that. And I mean, and just as importantly, I'm looking forward to meeting new friends and being inspired by the fact that, you know, we are not alone in the struggle. There's always a new generation. There's always new brilliant minds out there, and the next Hayek, the next Mises, the next Thomas Jefferson, you know, is probably at this event, and he's probably 19 years old, he or she, and we get to meet that person. So I'm looking forward to that. It's all about being part of the stream of history. That's the purpose. So you can just integrate yourself into what we know is our future, and being part of that future, and not isolating yourself in your small room and posting on Facebook, but rather entering in a vigorous and courageous way into the stream of life itself. That's what ISFLC is about.
I know you're worried about Trump and the rise of fascism and all sorts of things, but I love that the classic Jeff Tucker optimism is still there, and it's making me feel optimistic as well. Good. And that's good.
No, it's true. What's true? That's it. But look, it wouldn't happen without SFL and the entrepreneurship behind it. So, thank you for holding this conference, Casey. Everything you're doing, everybody at SFL. Thank you for all that you do. You're doing the Lord's work. You really are. As I say, you know, civilization. You know, it's like pushing a rock uphill. You know, you have to constantly do it. And if you rest, if you neglect the task of human liberty, the rock begins to fall back on you. You know, and we must always push. And SFL is the great organization that's always pushing uphill. And for that reason, I think there's hope. So I really do think that in this event, in these 2 days?
3 days. Well, yeah. Well, 2 days in total. I mean, you know, in terms of timeline. But yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean you really do see the stuff that's going to forge a brilliant history, 50 years, half century from now. You know, it's everything. The beauty of human liberty, like why is it we can have confidence we win? It's because human liberty works. Human liberty is smart. Human liberty is consistent with what we want in our hearts. It's how we're made. So we're going to find this truth eventually, as a human race. We'll discover it through fits and starts. We'll do socialism. We'll do fascism, but eventually we're going to find this thing, this brilliant thing called human liberty. And I see ISFL as the organization that provides the map, makes it easier.
No pressure, guys. No pressure.
Get from here to there. That's all. So.
Well, awesome. I think that's a good note to wrap it up on. So thank you, Lucy and Jeffrey, for joining us, especially taking time out of your busy schedules. I really appreciate it. And for being such good cheerleaders for ISFLC. I don't think I couldn't have done a better job myself. So thank you very much.
Well, let's get this video out and get people to the conference. Thank you so much.
I'll see you all there.
Yes, and just, you know, final reminder, if you haven't registered yet, want more information, visit isflc.org. And I hope to see you all on February 26th through 28th in Washington, D.C. Thanks so much, everyone.